Okay, take this question. Role of colonial administration in the development of anthropology. This is one. Okay. Contribution of N.K. Bose we discussed. Colonial Ethnography short notes. Next, trace the work of Iyer on tribes and castes. Trace the work of Iyer. I mean, I'm simplifying the question. Of South India. That's all. There are questions on N.K. Bose we discussed. Elvin we discussed. Contribution of Elvin we discussed. Okay. Apart from this, we are going to discuss, we only need to discuss S.C. Dubey, Hemandorf and L.P. Vidyarthi. S.C. Dubey, Hemandorf and L.P. Vidyarthi. With this Indian thinkers will be over. Okay. Let me tell you, by next year, everybody will be following this material. You are the pioneers. Because nobody had a material like this before. There is a good book, but people are not studying it because each thinker is covered in 70-80 pages. So this is the book that I used. Anthropology in the East. This is a book. I knew this book years ago, but I was not able to complete it. Only this year I was able to complete. Of course, it is also tough to read. You need to know the history of thought, anthropological thought, and various concepts to be able to follow the story. Okay. We shall summarize Iyer's work.
Sure, sir.
What is colonial ethnography in this?
Yes, sir. So, in this article, we discussed.
Tell me, what is the main purpose of colonial ethnography and what is the kind of ethnography they did? And why is it called colonial?
So we were discussing the colonial ethnography in the backdrop of 1901 census. Risley had already made some observations
That's true.
during his work on Bengal tribes.
That's true.
So the two main reasons that were identified in the article were to help the administration get some information about the various tribes and castes of a particular area. So that, and the other is to get some idea on the get some insights on the problems.
Anthropology itself.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So we can't say it is only for administration purpose. There is intellectual curiosity. Anthropology itself. Okay. And what is the method that they are following? Are they sending somebody for any intensive case study?
No, sir. They were sending questionnaires using the administrative officials, revenue officials.
What is the method called?
Method is questionnaire.
Okay, more specifically, questionnaires put together, what is that?
Survey methods.
Exactly. Okay. Use all these things when you are writing in paper 1. Methods, thinkers, connection between the methods and thinkers. Why were they doing survey? Okay. So tell me, what is the data that they were getting on something like tribes and castes? Unmute Vishal.
Yes. So information about their religion,
Religion,
caste, any customs,
origin,
marriages,
customs,
origin,
marriage,
even
ceremony.
yes, and Risley also suggested taking anthropometric data, but in case of Iyer, he refused to collect the same.
Okay, and this survey is a part of what? Ethnography is a part of survey, and survey itself is a part of
the census operation.
Census operations. Okay, so many kinds of surveys were being conducted. Ethnography survey is only one such survey, and part of census operations. And they were using bureaucracy in getting this done. And Risley was the head. Okay, now tell me, what is Iyer's contribution in this?
So Iyer was working as a science assistant in under the Diwan of Cochin. Yes. And since Risley had already worked on Bengal, he wanted to have a bigger picture of India. So he had asked different princely states and...
you see, with so much ease you are talking, you know, otherwise people will memorize 100 words per Iyer. What question are expecting? 150 words on Iyer. In fact, last year we found it difficult to get 150 words on Iyer because it's the whole article is difficult to read and I couldn't summarize. It took so much of time to read and then discern what is important, what is the method. So 150 words on Iyer. So you can write so much.
So yes, I also happened to watch your video before going through the material, so it kind of helped a bit.
Okay. So which is better? Was video better?
I think this way is better, sir. Watching video along with the material and then discussion.
Wow.
Yeah. I tried all before, as in for mesos and all. What I tried was I tried attending the discussion and then reading the material. But then now it is more easier this way. Video material and then discussion.
Video material plus discussion.
Takes time, but intent content will get internalized.
Yes, because see, on all these things, you know, you be very thorough. In GS issues, you need not be very thorough because it is dynamic, it changes. So you don't remember all the facts. But in things like this, you be very thorough.
The only concern that we are doing this just few months before prelims, so there is a bit of...
That is true, but everything is going to be over by this month end. Okay, it's completed by month end, it's over. In fact, I just need 3-4 policies and 2 thinkers, that's all. And it is a solid preparation. I am pleased. Because we couldn't do this before. So Risley's work, and tell me, what is the innovation he made? No, why the students have the problem is that these articles are really tough because it gives personal details and theory, what precisely is the method, what is the contribution. There are so many issues. You need to be thorough with the thought, historical process to discern the article. So that is difficult. So what are the basic things he found out? Tell me, what is the basic innovation he made?
So instead of sending the questionnaires, he himself visited the people and posed the questions. Probably we could say in survey interview or interview survey method that we discussed.
This is a survey method. Survey and then within the survey interview method.
Interview method. And then
he followed questionnaire as well as interview.
Interview.
Okay.
And then he collected data.
He did it himself. Yes. Okay. And then he simplified Risley's format. That is one. And then another thing is, okay, that's about it. And then he got cooperation of the people. And all this, you know, he didn't have any formal background. And then at the end of his career, he was giving tours all over Europe on anthropology. He's an amazing character, right? They were pioneers. Okay. And then did he develop theory?
He did develop theory, which kind of used, which led MN's universe to later create the Sanskritization. So he suggested that he, based on his observations, that once tribes with low culture have imbibed the culture of higher castes,
but that is only one instance of theory.
Yes, sir.
I gave it as one instance of theory. Otherwise, the book contains many essays, generalizations. For example, what he said on sorcery among the tribal religions, tribe caste. So he was generalizing, theorizing on method, theorizing on the cultural process, lecturing. He's a full-fledged anthropologist. It's not simply a survey, and that data could be useful elsewhere. He himself was making broad observations, because when he's talking about tribe, caste, religion, marriage, various things. Okay. And then he was using what he knew directly plus what he read. Then he is in touch with the top people in the world at that time. So definitely very fulfilling life. And then setting up departments of anthropology, offering courses. Okay. So that is about. So you can answer these questions, right? Role of colonial administration, development of anthropology. Iyer is one, but we can discuss others later. For example, Hemendorf also will come under this. Colonial ethnography. Yes, trace the work of Iyer on the tribes and castes of South India. Trace the work of
would S.C. Roy also come under ethnography?
S.C. Roy also. S.C. Roy also will come. But S.C. Roy's approach is different.
Sir, one doubt that I have in the video, there was some confusion. So Risley's was 24-point format or 27-point format?
24. Did I say 27 in that?
In video, you mentioned both. As in earlier, you mentioned 24, and then later on you corrected it to be 27. But in material, it's 24 again.
Okay, I will look into it. 24 versus
27.
Yes, 27, sorry. 27-point format to 14-point format. Thank you. 27. So what is mentioned in the art in this material?
24.
Yes, 24. Okay, 27. Thank you. 27 format. .27 format to 14-point format. Okay. Please memorize these quotations. Memorize these quotations, and examiners will surely appreciate if you write well with quotations. Okay. You need not memorize verbatim, but important words. Years and what was going on around that time. So you should be in a position to write an essay on development of anthropology in India, like that, from colonial origins. Who are the people involved? What were the methods and what were the results? Marvin Harris discusses anybody in terms of methods and results. What are the methods that an anthropologist followed? What are the results? And what is the historical context?
Sir, after going through the material, one more doubt is that the progression of anthropological thought, is it the same order that we have in the, say, contents part, or is there difference? Because while
Progress
reading,
of Indian anthropological thought is different. Progress
okay,
of that Western is I did in one particular way, but Indian I am doing it on the basis of availability of the material.
yeah, yes, sir.
And,
So from cultural evolutionism, is it next, say, historical particularism or functionalism? Because
historical,
in,
some people followed historical particularism, some people followed diffusionism and functionalism.
so in case a question comes, is it okay if we write in this particular order that we have in our contents?
Exactly. You are right
Progression.
in the context of Western anthropological thought. Do you see Indians are following the Western only? Taking
But
basically they are following the Western, taking some stand on tribe caste issue. I didn't see any other difference. They're basically following the Western, but they will have to address the issue of tribe, caste, conversion, and the approach to tribal development. That's all.
and also the fact that multiple thoughts are happening at the same time, so maybe people had the choice to choose between different.
That is true. You can place an Indian anthropologist in terms of what was the anthropological theory at that time. Iyer, only classical. S.C. Roy, little more functionalism. And then Bose, functionalism. Like that, there is some evolution. But I think everybody stopped by functionalism. We don't have people beyond that.
Sir, Elvin, we can place him in.
We can, Elvin, in retrospect, we can place him even under postmodernism. But in retrospect, he didn't know that he belonged to postmodernism at the time he was writing. Elvin is ahead of others. Okay. So I'm sure you have a feel of these thinkers. So memorize and use them. Wherever you use a Indian anthropologist, it gives a very good impression and with a quotation. Okay. So, for example, what was that 2019 question or about methods and theories? There was some question, right? There was something on methods and theories. You write about Iyer also.
In
How
paper
did
one,
methods
question was
change
in paper.
along with the theories? How have interpretation and presentation of data changed from classical to contemporary writings? Changed. Okay. So this is paper one, but
The recent paper, sir?
recent paper, 2020 paper. So you can write about Iyer. What was the theory at that time and what was the data he was gathering? How have interpretation and presentation of data changed from classical to contemporary writings? For example, next, how can synergizing the core branches of anthropology reinvigorate the holistic spirit of discipline? Write about Iravati Karve. She did work in all the disciplines. How is physical related? Because we have racial origins of caste. How did she get population movements? Again, tracing genetically. How will you get the history of the past? Archaeology. So use thinkers. How can synergizing the core branches of anthropology reinvigorate? So you can write very, very good answers. Okay. Okay. So think of Indian thinkers as well as Western thinkers when you are writing these answers. Okay. Now S.C. Roy. Sunil, can you summarize S.C. Roy? Sunil stands for summary.
So S.C. Roy.
Okay. Tell me, what is the connection between colonial ethnography and S.C. Roy? For example, will you mention S.C. Roy also under colonial ethnography?
Yes, sir.
Why so? Very good answer. Why so?
First of all, he also wanted to understand how communalism can be helpful.
No, no, no. Colonial ethnography.
May I, sir?
Just 1 second. Let him try. Will you write S.C. Roy also under colonial ethnography?
Yes, sir.
What does he have to do with colonialism? Did he receive any funding for anything? Yes or no?
I am unable to recollect.
Okay, okay. Vishal, did he receive funding?
Yes, sir. A grant of study from Gate, who was the census commissioner in
Exactly.
911.
Why are they interested? Usual answers. So S.C. Roy's study was financed. I mean, one particular study. And then another thing is, can you tell me what were the sources S.C. Roy used in the early stage of his work, which were part of colonial administration or colonial times? He used administrative data
Records.
and also Christian missionaries. And you can also see what was colonial ethnography at that time: Christian missionaries, administrative data, census operations, and surveys. S.C. Roy was not involved in any survey. Okay, but then there was connection with the bureaucracy and he was using that data. Okay, now, so you can mention under colonial ethnography the role of S.C. Roy also. Okay, Sunil, please continue. Can you tell me how did he become anthropologist? Or why do we call him anthropologist at all?
And he studied the Oran tribes and other tribes.
Exactly. He studied and wrote books on them. That's why he's called anthropologist. Okay, fine. But what was his background otherwise? What is his native place?
Sir, he settled in Ranchi.
But where did he go from? What is his name? Roy, right? So Bengali. So from Bengal he went to Ranchi. For what purpose? Why did he have to go from Bengal or Calcutta to Ranchi? He went there to teach English. But how did this person know English in the first place? He's a Bengali, more advanced. So people in Ranchi, around Ranchi, they are not so. So an English teacher went there. Then how did he get to know about these tribes? Why did he want to know? Because he started practicing law. And as a lawyer, he wanted to know the traditions. In fact, this is how Morgan also became an anthropologist. Very similarity. So then he got involved in the study. Why did he have to study anthropological thought? Because he had to write about the tribes and he wanted to know how they were being written about world over. Then he started studying. So whom did he study first?
Brahmins.
Yes. Who are they?
People in Jharkhand region.
That's true. But which thinkers he was studying in the beginning?
Classical evolutionists.
Classical evolutionists. Okay. So he looked at everything from classical evolution's framework. And then next, in which direction he moved from classical evolutionism to
Functionalism.
functionalism. And whose functionalism was it?
Malinowski.
Malinowski. So he went up to functionalism, classical evolutionism to functionalism. Functionalism meant interrelationship, fieldwork. Classical evolutionism was about stages. And please write about this thought also when you are writing about an Indian thinker. So he's following classical evolutionism. What does it mean? He's following functionalism. What does it mean? Functionalism is about how functional a particular trait is. And functionalism is also about relationship across the traits. Okay. So can you tell me, suppose the question is on theory and fact. Can you write about S.C. Roy? Sunil, how?
He went about studying the tribes first of all, and he first of all he believed in cultural evolutionism, but later on he said data needs to be collected and
exact. And when he became functionalist, his methods changed. Interview method. Okay. First-hand data. He suspected the previous sources. So when he is convinced of functionalism, he will look at the functions of a particular thing and relationship, which means theory guides fact gathering. So if you're writing on theory and fact, you can include S.C. Roy. It is like that. So think of these thinkers and then see what is their orientation and include. That makes a very good answer. Is it clear? So what was the theoretical method? Sorry, what was the theory and what was the method that they are following? What is the link between the two?
So we can write this Advaita thing also in theory and method.
Yes, of course. But rarely, if you have to write about attempts to make something distinctly Indian, but that is not really followed up. Maximum questions are about views on tribal development. That's all. So S.C. Roy's turn was completely different. It was not picked up by any. I liked it. It is because I happen to think like that. So nobody pursued like that. But what I liked in his approach is that the respect he had of anthropology. We came across a similar thing that is in Ilvin. Okay. So you can see huge respect for anthropology in Roy's writing. Okay. But usually textbooks are about how to study them and how to help them. Though individual anthropologists seem to have different concerns. Actually, in economics also it is similar. Individual economists have broader questions, but economics as such is very narrow. But if you see individual economists, why is it that he became an economist? What was his mission? What was his secret childhood dream? There are broader themes, broader issues. So a discipline is not exactly the same thing as a particular contributor to the discipline. So S.C. Roy may be interested in philosophical issues, but that is not the way anthropology developed. Not even Indian anthropology developed. So maximum thing anthropology went about was about how to handle tribes. What should be the approach to tribes? Sunil, can you tell me what is S.C. Roy's approach to tribes? In terms of those approaches, isolation, integration, and assimilation. Was he for integration, assimilation, or isolation?
Neither isolation, neither assimilation.
Really? How can you say he was for isolation? He wanted them to learn English.
Integration.
Integration. Integration. Isolation means complete isolation. Assimilation means be like us. Integration means they have something of their own and mainstream people will help. English language he wanted, and then cultural and economic rights. Cultural and economic rights, special safeguards, laws against land alienation, indebtedness. Don't you think finally what anthropology accepted or what independent India accepted was what S.C. Roy conceived at that time? And what we take it for granted now was not taken for granted at that time. So S.C. Roy's stand was different compared to the stand taken by others, including anthropologists or the government. S.C. Roy wanted to be treated as minorities with special rights, like Muslims. Because at that time, people were discussing in terms of minorities and Hindus. Ambedkar wanted minority status to the Dalits. Jinnah wanted minority status for Muslims. So they were discussing in terms of minorities, special safeguards, separate electorates, and things like that. It was in that context S.C. Roy proposed tribals should be treated as minorities with special rights. But then others argued, how can you think that they are minorities with special rights? They are not advanced enough. They're so primitive. You can't equate them with something like Muslims, and we don't know what Ambedkar's stand on this, but this is what S.C. Roy thought. He died before India became independent. So he was thinking in the colonial context only. Okay. So in how many stages you can trace S.C. Roy's thought? First, classical evolutionism. Next. After classical evolutionism?
Functionalism.
Functionalism. Next.
Postmodernism.
No. Next after that. His view of tribal life changed. Something good,
maybe.
Something good about tribes. Okay. His is not an Indological approach. Indological approach is about Sanskrit texts. You can say it is spiritual thing. He became more spiritual, and that's a different opinion. But that is not Indological approach. He did not do any Indological approach. So essentially, leaving aside his idea of what anthropology should be, which he wrote after 37. Essentially, classical evolutionism, functionalism, and cultural relativism. Maybe you can say that. Classical evolutionism, functionalism, cultural relativism, respect, and integration. That's all. How anthropology should be were influenced by his own spiritual ideas, religious ideas. Okay, and he believed that Indian anthropology can go in that direction, but nobody went in that direction. So it was a kind of a dead end. It just shows that his thoughts. Okay, in fact, in everything, we are just following Western methods. In fact, one reason for Hindutva is that they think entire academic discipline is highly westernized without any pride in Indian. So they are proposing something different. On the other hand, if the social sciences also take Western as well as Indian, probably things will be different. So I am for such a syncretic approach. Okay. So Indian methods or spiritual issues are not a part of any Western discipline. There is no proposal in terms of methods, method of meditation, introspection. No. So there is really no such social science thinking that is impacting the world which came from India. It's not like that. So it is good S.C. Roy thought like that, but nobody took it that way. It is a completely, it's made up of people who imitate, imitation. They imitate right or imitate the left. Okay. And when they glorify unthinkingly. So it is like that.
So can we consider S.C. Roy as a Orientalist? Glorifies the...
But Orientalism, can we say Orientalism as glorification? Orientalism was a study of Indian society in the context of scriptures. So we don't know, I don't exactly know. Okay. So you can say that these are his thoughts on how anthropology should be like. Okay, but if you're writing an essay on anthropology, definitely you can include S.C. Roy's views on what because I found in him the highest goal that he's attributing to anthropology. Lack of division. You can quote him in the context of communalism also. And the purpose of anthropology. So he's having a very high vision of anthropology. Okay. Very high vision. But then he did not do anything about it. It is not part of his anthropological work. It's simply his reflections and ideas on how anthropology can be. But he hasn't done anything and others have not done anything. But then I would say that should be the goal. Don't you think that is what I said in this book also? In this introduction. Okay, on what anthropology should be, isn't it? I said anthropology should be a critic of modern civilization.
But this exam is not like that.
Exactly, it is not. Okay. It is not an exam, but even a textbook is not like that. Even Ember and Ember is not a critic of modern civilization. But let me tell you, many people who became anthropologists wanted to escape from modern civilization. Malinowski was one among them. So many people thought, okay, my God, this is a crazy place and let me run to a pure land. And that is how people pursued anthropology. But now we don't have such luck because all the societies are corrupted and changed. There are sentinelists, but they are not allowing us. but at one time, there were societies which were untouched. So one wanted to go and then feel the freshness of how it would be like at one time. So they were the adventurers. They just wanted to have a feel. They know going to a primitive society, is in fact going back in time. Because, at one time, your ancestors were like that. That is the reason why people are curious about Andaman Nicobar Islanders. This is how we would have looked. This is how we used to cook. This is the dress we used to have. We may study history, but we'll never we can never go back in time and then see what we were like. On the other hand, if you go to a simple society, that is the thing you get. It's like traveling in a time machine. And so many anthropologists had that urge, had that disgust with the present. Okay. And speciality about India is that India has complex societies as well as simple societies. The British people don't have such a luck. They have to go to distant place to see the primitive, but Indian anthropologists don't have to. They just have to go few miles to, you can say, revisit their past. So our past, which is thousands and thousands of years ago, is living very close to us. That is the speciality of India. So that is why Indian anthropologists didn't have to go anywhere to study. Indian anthropologists just had to leave their home and go to one tribal place. That's all. So, being a critic of civilization, so you can use S.C. Roy's observations about what are the values he is condemning about modern civilization: egotism, consumerism, materialism, selfishness. He said so many things. And he took some time for him to understand. He did not start with those observations. He was just looking at the tribe from Western lens. Then one day he understood, what is it that I am doing? These people seem to be better. Then he changed. And he thought of completely different things. Okay. So you can see such an admiration in Elvin, and you can see similar thing in S.C. Roy. Of course, Elvin is much more different. He changed his life.
And S.C. Roy praised Elvin also.
S.C. Roy?
Praised Elvin.
Yes. Elvin was praised by Hemendorf also. Hemendorf also is an interesting person. Okay. So you can use S.C. Roy's observations on modern civilization and the purpose of anthropology and Indian methods. Okay. So anyway, it is because of these people we have good account of our past. Through their account of the simple societies, they are giving an account of mankind's past. Okay, so S.C. Roy thought of similarity, and then he thought that this similarity should give the feeling of oneness, which is Hindu ideas. Okay, but that is a different issue, whether knowledge can give that. But definitely, that is how anthropology should be taught. Anthropology cannot be reduced to a discipline to generate developmental programs to help the simple societies. No. Okay. In fact, if they have to be isolated, one very important reason, if you ask me why they should be isolated, is that so that we can continue to learn from them. If we make them like us, where will we learn?
No references to fall back.
Go back in past and then see how we were living. Some of them are so healthy. Did you look at that video of Champins? They're so healthy. And what are the resources they have? And how many of us can survive without hospitals, without medicine? But how are they living? Isn't it? So the first and foremost thing about anthropology should be that what is it that we can learn from them? And after that, is there anything that we can help them? So I would say greatest contribution of anthropology is that it recorded mankind's past through fieldwork. So that's what Heyman said about Elvin also. He was just recording the things which were going to fast disappear. Because if you don't record, within decades, they are not going to be there. Completely changed. It's recording. And recording of them is recording everybody's past, not of them only. Because everybody passed through hunting gathering stage and various stages. I don't think anybody skipped hunting gathering stage. That is not possible. So hunting gathering societies lived in a particular way. It means we lived in a particular way. And that is what anthropologists did. But I would say books are very narrow. So it is only through studying this thinking of certain anthropologists, you will see why were they interested, what is their mission about anthropology, and what is the potential of anthropology. Okay. Next, let us see some questions on tribes. So we need to do S.C. Roy and Heyman. That's all, and L.P. Vijayarthi. 3 more thinkers.
S.C. Roy we just did.
Sorry, S.C. Dubey. S.C. Dubey, Heyman, and L.P. Vijayarthi. I'll be doing these 3. Okay, let us discuss.
Would you be
Sir,
uploading
Guha.
videos?
Huh?
Sir,
I'll make videos first.
BS Guha.
Guha, I don't have any detailed account, but I will try. For example, anthropological interpretation of ethnic and political movements. Anthropological interpretation of ethnic and political movements. I will discuss what is movement later. But let us see, assume, okay, you try this. Anthropological interpretation. Ethnic and political movements. Tell me, what examples will you use for this? Anthropological interpretation of ethnic and political movements. Same thing, contribution of anthropology to understanding of ethnic and political movements. Anthropology to understand ethnic and political movements. Basically, what do you mean by anthropology? What is meant by anthropological interpretation of ethnic and political movements?
Everything, every factor.
That's all. It's very simple. Anthropology means holism. Holism. Fieldwork. If you are talking about everything, that is anthropology. Tell me, did we do anthropological understanding of Naga movement? Mizos? Bodos? Cookies? That's all. Language, tribe, land, political, autonomy, resources, state action, violence. This is anthropology. So, if you knew something in GS, use it in anthropology. It's just that anthropology means all aspects, holism, that's all, nothing more. Race, caste, tribe, ethnicity, polity, demography, space, kinship, religion, state action. That is anthropology. In fact, there is no difference between anthropological understanding of this and sociological understanding of it. It's same, holism. It's just that anthropology focuses on smaller societies. Okay. So holism is the issue.
So what could be the right intro for such questions, where it's more general?
Anthropology takes into consideration all aspects, holistic, and this is it. How do you explain Naga movement? How do you explain this? So focus on the issues rather than the specific facts, the dimensions. I gave notes in terms of specific facts, but I want you to make use of these facts under these headlines. For example, analyze the relationship between tribal community and nation state in the issue of governance. Relationship between tribal community and nation state in governance. Okay, tell me, is Naga an example? Governance is about relationship, administration. 5th schedule, 6th schedule, 370 plus. These are all issues of governance. Governance starts from constitutional provisions and then administrative arrangements, the goals. So some wanting autonomy within nation and some want to secede. These are all issues. And why do they want? Because they are unhappy.
So in the previous question, their ethnic and political movements. So under political movements, we can write about caste.
Combine both. Naga movement is ethnic political, Mizo ethnic political, Bodo ethnic political. You don't have to separate. That is ethnic as well as political.
Political movement to save
Political
their
is nothing but
ethnicity,
seeking power, autonomy.
to save their culture.
Yes, to save their
And
culture
ethnicity is
or
the
to
basis.
protect their resources.
And
what is
ethnicity is
ethnicity?
the basis for.
Yes, exactly. Identity, culture, and resources. Think in terms of identity, resources, and culture. That's all. Okay. We will be covering many more.